Hi, I'm Alice. I am a literary agent and owner at Ash Literary, and I am here with Jennifer Iacopelli, one of my clients. She is the author of books including Finding Her Edge, which is on Netflix, and a season two is on the way. Break the Fall, a gymnastics YA. Co-editor on Out of Our League, which is a group of short stories about girls in sport. Game Set Match, which in the US has these gorgeous spreads, which is a tennis new adult. And then as Jennifer Hennessy, Degrees of Engagement, come on, Blur. Degrees of Engagement, an
Will let
adult
me.
romance, and For the Ring, her
Better
other
into that
adult
group.
romance, which and neither of these want to. What's going on here? Anyway.
I feel like I actually have I'm not a blur, so that's for the.
Hey, there we go. For the
Do I
Ring.
have degrees? I do. I have degrees of engagement right here too. I'm so prepared.
Nice. So this is
Beautiful.
the pile of books that we've worked on together. Look at that. Look at that. That's insane. That's insane. And what's even more insane is that I'm your second agent.
You are.
Yeah.
You
So
are.
how did we come to work together? I want to hear it from your side.
So it's not like I feel like when I tell like, oh, I had to go find another literary agent, people are like, oh, how was that? And while at the time terrifying and super scary, yeah, my previous agent, who's lovely, we still have a
Yeah.
very nice professional friendship, I would say. Um, she didn't really vibe with the book that I had written, which was this one. And it was 2018. And I remember thinking, well, she doesn't like it. I need to find someone who does. So we mutually parted ways in a very cordial way, and said, I really respect your opinion, but I believe in this book, so I need to find someone who does also believe in this book. And she was like, I totally get it. And so off I went. It was the end of June 2018, and I was in a little bit of a panic because it was a book about, again, gymnasts. And that was about 2 years before what was supposed to be the 2020 Summer Olympics. So if anybody knows anything about how publishing schedules work, you probably need to be subbing a book 2 years before you imagine it coming out. And for sports in particular, sometimes that has to do with like when something hits a calendar. Like you'll notice when Finding Her Edge released on Netflix, it was right before a Winter Olympics. That's sort of how entertainment minds work in all of these industries. So I was like, well, it's the middle of 2018. I need to sell this book yesterday in order for it to come out for the 2020 Olympics, because I knew how industry professionals would feel about it. So I gave myself literally one day to be like upset and scared and thinking like, oh God, is this never going to happen? And then I set about querying. And I did it what I like to call the old-fashioned way, which is I emailed a bunch of agents saying, hey, I have this book and I'm really excited about it. Do you want to represent me? And you were in that group of eight. I think this either the first or second group of agents I emailed because I hadn't queried in a really long time. So I didn't know
Hmm.
who the players were anymore. I didn't know like where I should be sending stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to query anyone who seems like they might be a good fit for YA and sports and athletics. And if I remember correctly, your manuscript wish list at the time said something about competitive girls. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it like rung a bell in my head. I was like, oh, she sounds like a good fit. I had no idea who you were. Not a clue. Because
Yeah.
New York author, London agent, like
Also new agent.
new
Like,
agent.
yeah.
Yeah, because you had just moved over from just being rights
Yeah.
to building a children's list. So I was like, I don't know who this lady is, but I hope that your name sounded very posh to my New York sensibilities. She sounds like she's important. So I'm like, I'm sending the email. And then I heard back from you couple of days later. I can't even remember the exact timeline. It was very fast. And you were basically like, I read this in 4 hours. Do you want to talk?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, in fact, I do. Um, and that's my like getting a second agent story, which I know is an extremely privileged getting a second agent story because I know it can take people years upon years. But I do think with us in particular, and I think maybe it's me, people either like what I do or they don't like what I do. So like
Right.
we've seen that even being on sub, where it's
Yeah.
like either something sells immediately and really, really quickly or not at all.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's just my vibe, and you were a perfect example.
So what's really funny is like I remember this slightly differently because
Oh, do you?
I
Okay.
do, yeah. So you queried me, and I was still doing rights as well as the children's list. So I was still essentially doing two full-time jobs. And I remember seeing your query and being like, okay, cool. Then I saw another email from you that said, I have 13 full requests.
So okay, the agency you were at the time said something like if you receive either it was like a full request or a certain amount to like
Mm,
nudge you guys.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm a rule follower, as Alice learned over the last 6 years. And I was like, they told me to tell
Yeah.
them if I so now I will send a second email,
Yeah.
which was so antithetical to everything I had learned about querying up until that point. But I thought about it and I was like, well, I guess they don't want to miss out on something if it's receiving a certain amount of attention. So I was like, okay, I will. And I did. I had a lot of
You
interest
had so
very
many.
quickly,
Yeah.
which was also partly wonderful and like, oh, people are interested, and partly that I sent a lot of emails very quickly because I was kind of in a panic mode of like, I need to see who might be a good fit, so I need to try to query widely.
Yeah.
Um, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, people are this is resonating with people, which I mean, you always have that imposter syndrome as an author because you think like, well, I think it's good. But maybe it's not good because I just like my work, but also I'm my toughest critic. I don't know. It's a whole
Yeah.
mess up there.
Yeah.
And then people are responding, but then you think, oh, they can't possibly actually like it. But then your
I like.
agency was like, they can't, but why would they like it even though they're responding to it? Like, yeah, it's just the author brains are liars. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll follow their directions. And I do remember sending that email and being like, maybe is this like a trap? Like, should I not be sending? Like, it was very weird. But that's right. I did send an email
Yeah.
saying, hey, a bunch of people have requested this.
And
Heads up.
that it was literally that. It was like, oh, I've got 13 full requests, and I was like, oh shit. And then I remember looking at your query letter properly, and you said that this was the book that ended Make It or Break It, a show that I
Yes.
had been obsessed with, and nobody else had ever heard of this.
Well,
And
I
you were
feel like
like,
it wasn't big in the UK. I feel
no,
like it wasn't a big, it was an American. I mean, it wasn't, to be fair, as much as I loved it, it wasn't huge in the United States either, which is why it didn't last more than a couple of seasons.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and it was literally like, this is how I would have ended the show, or this is how the show should have ended if it had been given the chance. And I was like, gimme right now. And that was literally it. That was it. I was like, done. Okay, sold. And then I was just because I was a baby agent and I was in the UK and I was just like, there's no way on God's green earth that this author with 13 for Cross is going to be like, sure, why the hell not? And yet here we are.
Here we are.
And
Well, you
you,
blew everybody away.
yeah,
I think I'm old now and I don't remember things. I want to say I had two other offering agents. Your level of enthusiasm was so much higher than hers,
mm,
and this other agent didn't seem quite as like, we need to do this very quickly. And you were like, we need to do this, right? Like the timing is correct, and actually we might be a little too late. And I remember thinking like this, but there was no contest at that point. I was like, no, Alice is so enthusiastic. It was not a close game, just so you know.
and the other thing is that I might be your second agent, but you're actually at your third agency because
I
you
am.
were the first person I called. I remember getting off a situation that I am not going to talk about
No, that's
publicly
fair.
and immediately calling you and saying, I'm leaving and I don't know what the timeline is, but you need to know. And you were the first person I called, and here we are, five and a half
And
years
I was
later.
like, okay, where are we going?
Literally, you did say that.
And you were like, I don't really know yet. I think my own place. And I was like, let me know when you figure it out.
It's so unhinged. But yeah, I mean, like, you were one of the first people that I signed as an agent. And then you were the first person that I told I was leaving my old agency and I had no clue what I was going to do. And then here we are. And I think you have had such an interesting covering a lot of bases there,
Interesting is
publishing
doing a
career.
lot of work.
Yeah, interesting is really a choice there, isn't it? Where like Break the Fall, which was set at the Tokyo Olympics, published in February 2020. That
Yeah.
was fun.
I had a conversation not too long ago where people were trying to remember like what book event they had been at of mine. And they were like, oh, it was for Break the Fall in New York. I was like, yeah, the last thing a bunch of people did before they stayed in their house for a year and a half. And they were like, oh my God, that's right.
Yeah,
Like it was February 10th or something like
yeah,
that of
yeah,
2020. And then no one came back outside for a year.
yeah. And the Olympics were cancelled, and we were just sitting there like,
Turns out my rush was for no reason. I
yeah,
could
it's
have
like,
waited a
oh
whole
my
year.
God, what, like, what is going on? And I think about how we were staring down the barrel of this bloody book being set at an Olympics that was no longer happening.
Yep,
And then I look at where you are now, and I'm just like, that
I
is,
know.
it's wild.
It should not have happened. Yeah, I joke sometimes, like if I wrote my career into a book, they'd be like, no, that
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
It,
And because it doesn't.
yeah, it's like no, there's no way that this, because we did break the fall, and then your editor Julie bought Finding Her Edge, and then Julie left publishing,
Yeah.
and so Finding Her Edge got passed on to another editor, and it published, and three people read it, and then we sold
And
out
three
of our
people is
league.
not that much of an exact underestimate of how many
It's
people read
really
it.
not.
It's
I mean, I'm
really
not even saying it to be like mean or
no,
anything. It's like, no, three
no,
people read this book.
it literally just got thrown into the world. Very few
Yeah,
copies were sold. Let's just
yeah.
say it like that.
And then we sold out of our league, which actually my old colleague Chloe sold
Yes,
because it was on sub, and that was when I quit. And then we did your adult books
yes. Because again, nobody read Finding Her Edge.
because we
And we
needed
were
to
like,
pivot.
well, maybe I should change my name.
Yeah. And then we were like, we need to pivot. And then Netflix came calling, and within a year, it's just
There are no words. For
yeah,
people who deal in words, we have no
yeah.
words. The
It's
last
been a
year, what the
while.
last year has been and what the next year is going to be. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's been completely mad. So people
Keep
should not
going,
take
friend.
anything from this aside from keep going because you genuinely never know. So how would you describe your writing style?
How I write or what my writing reads like.
What your writing reads like?
One of the words, and I feel like you said this to me very early on, so I don't know if you remember. You said the word cinematic to me.
Mm,
And I feel like that's people use different words to mean the same thing when they describe writing my books to back to me. But I feel like that's one of the things. I feel like I write very visually.
yeah,
You come in the room, you go through the room with the characters, you're seeing what they're seeing. And it feels actually, while I'm stunned that my books have been made into a TV show, I'm not stunned that they work well as TV.
yes,
Because
yeah,
when I write, I see, and then I write down what I'm seeing in my head. So I feel like that's how I would describe my books. I feel like they're my brand, as we would say, I guess, is I write about Mistress Girls and the people who love them for it,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
my favorite thing in the whole world is celebrating female ambition in fiction.
yeah. No, that's pretty much how I would put it.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I mean I'm looking at this pile and I'm like, yep, tick, tick,
Mhm.
tick, tick, tick.
Check the
Yeah,
box. The ambitious
exactly.
in different ways. It comes out in
Yeah,
various ways, but I mean mostly in sports, but like the way in which they approach their ambition is different, but
yes.
they all have that in common.
Yeah, and they've all got people who love them for it, which is just very lovely to see. So, yeah.
It's people are like, you write contemporary. I'm like, I write fantasy.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh, friends.
Oh
Oh, friends.
no.
I write in a
Oh,
little bit of a fantasy world where, a bunch of straight guys are like, yay, female ambition.
I need a drink now. Okay, you do balance writing with a day job. So how do you do this? And also tell us about your day job because it's like hilariously adjacent.
Well, yeah, my life is my job is book, the way Ken's job is beach. Like my job is book. I'm a high school librarian. I have been a high school librarian for 16 years. So my career is as old as a high school sophomore, almost junior. And I have another 16 to go probably. So, I love it. I love my day job. I love it for a variety of reasons. I do love the nuts and bolts of my job. I love connecting kids with literature. A lot of what my job is now is teaching them how to combat disinformation and misinformation, how to understand legitimate sources, how to cope with AI being a thing now in the school and in the workplace. When is it appropriate to use? When is it wildly inappropriate to use?
Yeah.
Um, I do a lot of that work. I do a lot of professional development with my colleagues about technology, which I think people think librarian and they think, person behind the circulation desk being like, "Shh," and then back in their book. That is not what I do all day. Um, I also love it for very practical reasons. I have my day completely front loaded. As you know, you get text from me at like 5:30 New York time because
Yep.
I'm up already and I'm moving around and I'm getting ready to go to work and I'm at my desk by like 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm out of school by like 2:30. So I do have a chance to come home, reset, and kind of have the second half of my day for my other full-time job. Which now I joke, I'm like, it's not just two full-time jobs anymore. Now it's like two and a half because it's
Yes.
library during the day, authoring nights and weekends, and then promoting, which is sort
Yeah.
of like whenever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I've talked to a bunch of writers about this, some full-time, some who have a part-time job, some who have a partner who have a very stable job, and therefore have, here in America, the US of A, health insurance.
Yay.
Yeah. So I have to do that myself. I'm single, so I have to make sure I have health insurance. And for me at least, knowing that I have a very stable career in which that I'm not I'm tenured. I have very strong labor laws here in New York where, I go to work, I do my job, I do it well. I don't have to worry about losing that job.
Yeah.
And so it's very comforting to be able to write in that environment
Yeah.
where I'm not, is my mortgage going to get paid? I know you find it very comforting that you don't have to worry about my mortgage being. So my bills are paid. I always view it like that. My bills are paid by my day job. I live at the means that my day job provides.
Yeah.
And then my book stuff becomes wonderful and now profitable,
Mm.
but not in a way that creates a level of pressure of, oh, if I don't do this, I need to sell my home, or if I don't do
Right.
this, I'm not going to pay the electric bill. Like it's so far beyond my concerns because of how I've sort of designed my life.
Yeah.
Um, that I wouldn't have it any other way, but I know people are different. Some people want to devote all of their time to their art and they're willing to diversify and they're willing to be like, I'm gonna self-pub under a pen name and I'm going to write in traditional pub under this name and I'm going to freelance edit and do all these things that make it work because it's so hard to make a
Yeah.
living simply by writing. It's
Yeah.
not really a thing most people can do.
No, it's very, very hard. And I would say the majority of my clients have day jobs. And it is honestly, as an agent, quite a relief because when somebody goes full time, you're just thinking, oh God, I mean, like you had a good year. What and like, this is publishing, like what if you don't have another good year?
Right.
What are we
Well,
gonna
that's the
do?
conversation I have all the time now because
Yeah.
people see, even people who understand that my success is not overnight, it's been 15 years. Um, they're like, well, when are you quitting your job? And I'm like, I had a good year last year and it was very good. Let's not pretend, we're not going to talk about specific numbers, but it was
So
wonderful.
good, yeah.
It was a great year. And maybe this year will also be likely a great year. But what about 5 years from now? We don't
Yeah.
know. And so I'm like, no, it's not on the table, friends, not
Yeah.
for a very long time, not till we hit a certain level of security. And no, we're not near that yet.
No,
So,
and publishing is kind of
and publishing is
it's
the
not
least
secure.
secure business. It
Yeah,
is
it's not
so,
secure.
we have New York Times bestsellers who can't sell their next book.
Yeah.
I mean, is it insane? Yes, but that's the nature of the business, and we are all aware of it now. No one can pretend like they're not aware of that. That is how the business works. So,
No.
no, I will not be leaving the day job anytime soon, friends.
So, I mean, given that we have not worked together for your entire career, this is actually a really interesting question that I'm very keen to hear your answer to. What advice would you give to your early career self?
But just keep going.
Mm.
Like the things you think are career killers. Like I thought finding her edge was a career killer. It's a career maker, turns
Yeah.
out. Like, like it's the things you think are the be all end all. I didn't get that starred review. I'm not a lead title. I needed to pivot what I write a little bit. Like I wrote thrillers, now I'm gonna write a cozy mystery, or I wrote contemporary romance, now I'm gonna try my hand at fantasy romantasy. Those things are normal. So just keep going. Like the idea of writing a book, staying with the same agent, same publisher, same subgenre, same that is non-existent.
Yeah.
And I can't think of, I mean, like Stephen King, who by the way has written outside of his initial genre, um, Danielle Steele, like I'm like who doesn't pivot? I look at even now, Victoria Aveyard. She
Yeah.
writes adult now.
Yeah.
She started in YA, like, and she's maybe one of the biggest bestsellers of her generation. Like people, this is very normal. The things you think are going to stop you are only going to stop you if you let them.
Yeah.
That is the only advice I could give baby writer me.
And what is one thing that you wish you'd known when you started pursuing publishing?
Also that.
As above.
As about like no, not and I can expand. If I had known that, I would have still done it, but I would have taken everything a little less personally. I would have taken everything a little less stressfully. I would have released a little bit of that earlier. But then again, it got me where I am. So like, do you undo? I don't know if I would undo that, undo
Yeah.
the thought process and the stress and where I was in my own head. Like, I not that suffering necessarily leads to success, but it all led me to the place I am right now. So I don't think I would really change anything, but maybe I would have just de-stressed myself a little bit by being like, this is all very normal. You will be okay. You just have to keep going.
My answer to this question is what's the weirdest thing you found about publishing is Jen's career. Um,
I'm
what's the
weird.
weirdest thing you found about publishing?
Hmm. Success doesn't necessarily breed success, and failure doesn't necessarily breed failure.
Mm,
Because I feel like in most careers, not all, but most careers, as you succeed, you then success usually compounds a little bit, even if the success is earned or unearned. Like we watch people fail up all the time, but
yeah.
we see them with that sort of path of success. And it's like, okay, so now success is breeding success, even though maybe they shouldn't be getting it. And so I thought that's how publishing would work. Turns out not so much. Because publishing's a weird animal. It's you're based on your sales record, but also there are factors that can override your sales record. A Netflix show, like
Oh,
coming out of really nowhere, like so there are things that can stop you that you don't know will stop you. Like I've talked to authors who have gotten the huge, flashy, big deal to start their career. They were debut authors with that like in a major deal for 3 books and you're like, this is it. They're the next big thing
hmm.
in this industry. And because they were successful, but not the biggest thing in publishing based on how the books sold, they never sell another book.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's a thing that can happen? And it does. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it was going this way. Why is it now going this
Yeah.
way? And so, yeah, but I think that's the weirdest thing I've
Yeah.
learned about publishing is that you really just never know.
What are the best aspects about being an author?
This is such a cliche answer. I'm sorry, friends. It's when people connect with your books
Yeah.
and you get to meet readers who are so excited to meet you because they want to tell you all of their thoughts about a character that you imagined up from your brain, which is what baby reader me wanted to do with all my favorite authors. I wanted to like be like, well, what about this and what about that? And I loved when they did this. And why did you have them do that? Which I'm experiencing on like the exponential level at this stage of my life. But it's wonderful. It's like it's great. Like I made you feel something. I made
Mm.
you have a thought. I made you think about things one way or another way. Like brilliant. Um, they bring friendship bracelets. I feel like a little bit like I get like the Taylor Swift experience. Like I get to get friendship bracelets from my readers and they draw fan art and they tag me in their edits on TikTok and Instagram. And that's really the coolest thing about my job. I will say, based on my specific experience, the coolest thing right now is that I am the coolest person at my school, which is not a normal feeling for a high school librarian. Usually, like the football coach, like the social
Yeah.
studies teacher, that coolest person in the building. Somehow now that is me, which is a little bit crazy, but it's been fun.
So fun. On the flip side, what's the worst part?
When the words aren't coming
Mm.
and you have when you have to force it. I've gotten to a point where I can force it knowing, and you know this about me, I live in the world of revision. I love being there. Drafting, it's fine, which might be the current place that I'm in right
I was going
now.
to say, is this a current situation?
Yeah, it's current feeling. I hate drafting books, but I love revising them. So now I can trick my brain into being like, well, in order to get to revision land, you must first live in drafting world.
Mm.
So I can make it happen and be like, it doesn't have to be good, it just has to exist. Also, author brain lies. Sometimes you're like, it doesn't have to be good. I'm gonna write a crappy scene right now. And then you get to the world of revision land and you look back and you go, oh, that's not so bad. Like,
Yeah.
wait, it's okay. Like you get, it's almost like running a marathon. Not that I've ever run a marathon or ever will run a marathon, but I feel like there are probably parts of marathon running in which you're like, this is not worth it. I'm giving up. And then a mile later, you're like, oh, we're good. We're
Yeah.
fine. Um, and the more you do that and the more you train for it, the better you get at pushing through those, oh, this is not worth it moments. So that's probably the worst part.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I mean, like on the day to day, I mean, we can talk about publishing on the live long day. The industry is flawed. Again, success doesn't necessarily breed success, and you think you might expect one thing and get another, um, or vice versa. And it's just that part of it you can't control. So for me, the worst parts are the things that I can control that I don't like.
Yes. Fair.
So it's like, okay, I erase the stuff that I can't control. Again, 15 years in, tons of perspective. That stuff I can't control, put it over the side. The stuff I can, okay, what do I not like about that?
Yeah.
Drafting, writing the actual book.
Yeah. Yeah. Entirely fair.
It's an
Yeah.
awful thing to say, but I don't like writing the actual book. I love revising the actual book,
Well,
though.
because you've got something to work with. You've got nothing to work with when you're
You
drafting.
can't fix what doesn't exist,
Yeah.
friends, which I know, again, cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's because it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. And it is a bummer.
It really is.
Yeah.
Hold for dog moment. And
Why?
I
Yeah.
get a Diet Coke moment. I kind of hope Alice keeps this bit in.
Okay, so if there was one thing that you wanted querying authors to take from this conversation, what would it be?
Okay, so I have like what you should take from our conversation, and then I have querying advice that you should take with a grain of salt because it's been a minute for me. From our conversation, please send your queries. Like, t shoot your shot, friends. Like, the only way you will know whether or not this career is going to happen for you in the traditional publishing space is if you try to start the process of traditionally publishing, which is query the agents that you think are a good fit for your book. Query the agents you respect, query the agents that you see are working with stuff that you admire. Query the agents that have the stuff you write on their what's it called? Wish list.
Yeah.
Or on their website or on Query Tracker or Query Manager or whatever it's called now. Then my more practical advice is by God, follow the submission guidelines. I I talk about this with friends all the time because I have friends in various stages of this is what happens when you're like in publishing for 15 years. I have friends who are still at the querying stage of publishing, and I have friends who are multiple New York Times bestsellers and who never have to work again. Like I have covered the gamut of people that I know in this industry. At the end of the day, if this is what you want, you can't fight the process. It's not going to work out for you. I got you to read my query closely because I followed the submission guidelines on your agency's website that said, hey, if you have fulls out or a certain amount of fulls out, please let us know. And I was like, this is what their submission guidelines say. This is what I'm going to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but also, on the flip side of that, follow the submission guidelines, but please stop getting caught up in the minutia of what you think those submission guidelines might be. For example, if someone says, please send me your first 5 pages, and the chapter that ends that first 5 pages has one more line of text, please stop sweating the very, very small stuff.
Yeah.
And as a grown-up person in the world, you know what that small stuff is. You know what you would consider that's unhinged. I'm not going to do that in every other aspect of the world.
Hmm.
Please apply that to your querying process. Don't stress one typo in a query.
Yeah.
Don't stress if they say, hey, we would like a one-page synopsis. If it's one and a half, you're gonna be okay. Like, but also don't send them 8 pages. Like it's there, everyone knows what that line is. Everyone knows what a reasonable answer to a question would be. Please use your common sense and your reasonability as you go through that process. I say this from a very privileged perspective of somebody who is currently agented. However, I am currently agented twice. I queried cold
Yeah.
people I had never spoken to before, and I got agented twice, both times that I tried to find one. Follow the submission guidelines, use your common sense. As soon as you start querying, you are now engaging in business correspondence, not in vibesy emails.
Yeah.
Our conversations now are vibesy text messages.
Yes.
6 years ago, they were not. They were very relatively formal emails.
Yeah.
Um, and that's normal. So divest yourself of the social media interacting via TikTok comment vibe. Start treating it as a business, use your common sense, follow submission guidelines. The rest of it is very practical advice. It's harder than ever to get an agent. Don't disqualify yourself over, first of all, not trying, like we said, and then the rest of it, do your due diligence. Follow the process as it's supposed to be followed, because that's how an agent will find you. That's the only real way. There's not a ton of other opportunities
There's
to do
no
it.
shortcut. There's no
Yeah,
shortcut. It's so
and people are desperate for one. Listen, when your book gets adapted to a Netflix series, everyone you've ever met comes out of the woodwork to be like, how did you do this? And they don't like the answer, which is, I did these 12 steps of process over a decade and a half.
yeah.
There are no shortcuts. I'm so sorry, friends.
Tell us about your next book.
Oh, the book that I'm currently drafting that I currently hate because I hate drafting. I don't hate it. I love the book. So it is called, I believe we might have landed on a title,
Mm.
but I believe it's going to be called On Thin Ice, and it is a Finding Her Edge novel. Sequel! We got a season two. We're getting a sequel, friends.
Yep.
Team Bradriana, Team Frediana. Let's go, girls. We're
Team
going.
Gold. Hello.
Team Gold Medal, Team Adriana,
Yeah.
Team
Come
Russo
on.
sisters.
Hmm.
More. We're getting more. I'm so excited.
Can you tell us anything about the plot? Do you know where it's going?
Well, I do know where it's going. You don't know where it's going. Well, you
I don't
might have.
know where it's going. Well, I
I
kind
feel
of do
like
know where it's
yeah, you
going.
might a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I know that we're going to delve deeper into our love triangle. Where we left off in Finding Her Edge was Adriana had chosen Freddie, who was her childhood sweetheart, the love of her life. And now we get to pick up with that decision. Literally, I think I pick up 3 weeks later.
Hmm.
It's a very quick turnaround. Um, and as all decisions, sometimes you feel great about them, sometimes you have regrets, sometimes it's a mishmash of the two. Um, we get to see more Elisa Russo, which fans of the show, they know her as Elise Russo. She's going through it, friends. She's really going through it. Adriana's in therapy.
We love that for her.
We love this for her. She has a great therapist named Gregory, who I invented a couple of days ago. He's wonderful. We get more ice dancing. We get more chemistry on the ice, chemistry off the ice. And yeah, we get what happens when you think you get everything you want.
What
What
happened
comes
after
next?
therapy
What comes next? Because we leave Adriana, she's a gold medalist. She's headed to senior world championships, which she didn't think was going to happen at that point in her career. She's got the love of her life. She's got financial independence. Her dad and her sister seem like relatively under control with their craziness and spending, which if you haven't met book version of Elise and Will, who are Walter and Elisa in the book, they are way worse in the book than
They
they are
are
in the show.
quite
So like
unhinged.
they're sort of under control, basically because she now controls the finances of their family.
Good. Yes.
Book
Good.
Adriana has a lot more responsibilities than TV Adriana. Um, and she's gotten everything she's wanted ever. Are you sure?
You're not even in your 20s yet.
You're 17. No, in the book, she's still 16. She turned
Yeah,
17 in book two.
you're a
So
baby.
she's a
So
baby.
wow.
So now what happens
Yeah.
next? You have to read to find out. And I'll have to keep writing in order for you to read to find
Yes,
out.
please, because the manuscript doesn't actually exist yet, and we
It's
sold it on
about, it
about 10
exists in
pages.
like, it exists, a third of it exists.
Okay.
Which, in my defense, is probably the most important third because that's
Mhm.
like where I set everything up, and then it's like skiing downhill after the first third. But it exists fully in outline form and has for a while.
Yeah,
The outline itself was
it was
we
pretty
were we
solid.
were we were waiting for good news, friends, is
Yeah.
basically what was happening. We were waiting for good news, and we got good news very quickly, thanks to everyone who tuned in. Well done, viewers. We love you. Whatever team you are, we love you. Even if you don't love me very much right now. It's okay. Still love you anyway. I'm like a parent. I love you regardless. And yeah, book two. Here we go.
Book two. Any final sage bits of advice or anything that you want to leave our viewers with?
I will say publishing is a long game. And I think that's sort of the theme of our conversation today
Mhm.
is that you don't know what's next. You can't predict it. There is no predicting it. If you just keep going, you at least can control that part of it.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about it just a little bit earlier, is like focus on the stuff you can control. You can control what you write next. You can control the people you decide to work with.
Hmm.
Um, and I've made that choice personally multiple times where I'm like, you very rarely in life get like a legitimate crossroad where you're like, if I go left, I don't know what's going to happen. And if I go right, I don't know what's going to happen. But I know that there's a person I trust on this left-hand road, and there's kind of an unknown factor on the right-hand road. You know what? Maybe I stick with the person I trust.
Yeah.
And like you and I had the opportunity a couple times to be like, you know what? This isn't working, but I trusted your vision and I trusted
Yeah.
you. A couple of times with editors where I've been like, I don't know if we should keep going with these people.
Yeah.
Like, if I've developed that relationship, if we've developed trust, like continue to work with the people that you trust. Put your trust in good professional people. They will not lead you astray. I have a team of
Yeah.
people. I've got you, I've got Tara, my TV and film agent, I've got Rachel who works with you on translation rights. I've got Jeff who's our executive producer. I've got a great group of people who I implicitly trust in this business. And I wish I could say I did it deliberately, but the decisions at the moment were deliberate.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to surround myself with people I trust. But as my career went along, I was making decisions based on, do I trust this person with my business?
Yeah.
And the answer was yes. So I would keep going with them. So surround yourself with people you trust.
Excellent advice. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will have more information on the sequel to Finding Her Edge.
It's actually, I'm going to guess, I might be wrong. And if I'm wrong, roast me in the comments, friends. I'm going to guess the information is probably going to be in the description below by the time
Yeah.
this video posts. So if you want more information,
Yeah,
click
we're
the link
gonna,
in the show notes down here, and
yes,
it's probably there. And if it's not, again, leave a comment and be like, you lied to us, and just be mad at me because the whole internet's mad at me, so it's fine.
exactly. It's
I'm
like,
very used
wow,
to that
I
now.
was Team Braden and you lied about the
And also,
information.
you lied to me about the information about this book.
My God.
How dare you?
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time for another conversation with a client. Bye.